and I will always keep in our hearts the inspiration of this day. And may we ever be worthy of the goodwill which I am proud to think surrounds us at the outset of my reign. I thank you from my heart, and may God bless you all.
The state coach brings its happy occupants back home to Buckingham Palace, and those who saw the start of the triumphal progress 5 hours before witness its completion. They witness more than that. For them is that delightful picture of the crowned king and queen on the balcony with their attendants and family around them. But the king is looking round for someone, and maybe the crowd is calling for her too. Queen Mary is drawn into the family group, and with this study you will wish me to conclude our coronation picture, saying as fervently as I do, God save them all, God bless them all.
From the very beginning of her reign, Elizabeth was a support and confidant to her husband, and an attentive mother to the two princesses, as well as a hard-working royal. The days of one extended royal family all over Europe had long passed. They now had to take on the role of diplomats. Before leaving for a tour of Canada and the United States, they went through their itinerary with the two princesses.
It's a blustery day of spring when our picture is taken, and although the warm sunshine attracts the royal family into the grounds of Buckingham Palace, the wind blows the king's hair all over the place. Not even the solicitude of Princess Elizabeth can control it. The Queen holds down a corner of the map as the princesses pore over it, and the King shows them where the Repulse will steam up the estuary of the St. Lawrence to the big cities of the vast dominion of Canada.
In Ottawa, they walked among the people and shook their hands, a royal tradition which has survived to the present day. A few months later, after war had been declared, the Queen was to recall this historic visit.
The last time that I broadcast a message was at Halifax, Nova Scotia, when I said a few words of farewell to all the women and children who had welcomed the King and myself so kindly during our visits to Canada and the United States of America. The world was then at peace, and for 7 happy weeks we had moved in an atmosphere of such goodwill and human kindliness that the very idea of strife and bloodshed seemed impossible. The recollection of it still warms my heart and gives me courage. I speak today in circumstances sadly different. For 20 years, we have kept this day of remembrance as one consecrated to the memory of past and never to be forgotten sacrifice. And now the peace which that sacrifice made possible has been broken, and once again we have been forced into war.
To the echo of marching feet, we pass into the 1940s and start a new decade. And the picture, the picture is of a nation rapidly, but nonetheless surely, mobilizing its manhood for the supreme triumph, mobilizing its manhood for the supreme cause, liberty and the defeat of aggression. Certainly it has been a war such as no man could have predicted. Taught by the Great War and German propaganda to expect a fierce blitzkrieg, we have stood ready for the assault on our cities.
The war dramatically affected the lives of everyone in Britain. While the king worked long hours monitoring the movement of troops abroad and the ring of defense that protected the coastline, the Queen used all her strength in keeping up the morale of the British people, making sure that everyone did all that they could for the war effort, and did it with good cheer, especially the women.
War has at all times called for the fortitude of women. Even in other days, when it was an affair of the fighting forces only, wives and mothers at home suffered constant anxiety for their dear ones, and too often the misery of bereavement. Their lot was all the harder because they felt they could do so little beyond heartening through their own courage and devotion the men at the front. Now this is all changed, for we, no less than men, have real and vital work to do. To us also is given the proud privilege of serving our country in her hour of need. Many of you have had to see your family life broken up, your husband going off to his allotted task, your children evacuated to places of greater safety. All this, I know, has meant sacrifice. And I would say to those who are feeling the strain, be assured that in carrying on your home duties and meeting all these worries cheerfully, you are giving real service to the country.
Throughout the war years, the King and Queen were seen as parents concerned for the world their daughters were growing up in. For Britain, they represented all that was being fought for. The Queen became mother to a nation. Adolf Hitler, unmarried and childless, ruled by fear and discipline. He labeled her the most dangerous woman in Europe. Britain was to need all of its strength. The Blitz began on the 7th of September 1940, continued for the next 57 nights, and did not stop until May 1941. The King and Queen walked around the ruins of London and saw at first hand the lives that had been shattered and the communities destroyed by German bombs. It must have been difficult to find any words of comfort for the people she met. On the 15th of September, a German bomber flew straight down the Mall and dropped 2 bombs on the forecourt of Buckingham Palace, 2 in the quadrangle, 1 in the chapel, and 1 rather carelessly in the garden. Inspecting the damage, the Queen turned this blow into a morale-boosting occasion when she said, "I'm glad we've been bombed. It makes me feel I can look the East End in the face." As she continued to visit scenes of destruction all over the country, worried officials suggested that it might be safer if the young princesses were sent abroad. "The princesses cannot go without me," she said. "I cannot go without the king. The king will never go." It was terribly important that the monarchy were not going to be seen enjoying any extra privileges. The palace staff, with the Queen at the helm, knitted for the troops and did work for the Red Cross.